This is Let's Talk Chattanooga Real Estate, the podcast where we cover home buying, home selling, home improvement tips and ideas, market trends and developments, and investing in real estate. If you own real estate in the Chattanooga, Tennessee area, or want to own real estate here, then you're in the right place. Let's Talk Chattanooga Real Estate is hosted by Blake Watson, a real estate agent and investor in Tennessee and Georgia, brokered by eXp Realty LLC.
Welcome to Let's Talk Chattanooga Real Estate. I'm Blake Watson, a licensed agent in Tennessee and Georgia, and brokered by eXp Realty LLC. And my guest today is Paul Say, the owner of Chattanooga Lawn Enforcement. Welcome, Paul.
Hey, thank you so much for having me, Blake. It's really a pleasure to be here.
Chattanooga Lawn Enforcement. What a great name.
Thank you.
So what do you guys do?
Our focus is really the lawn maintenance. And during the season, we're going to be mowing from sunup to sundown. And that's really, I guess, the core of what we do. However, our customers have lots of other things that they need done that we can take care of. And so, especially during the off season when there's a lot of opportunity for project work, but even in the middle, we're going to take care of things like mulch bed refreshes, weeding, hedge trimming. We do gutter cleanouts and leaf maintenance, do small tree, removal and some planting, anything that we can to help. It's really great once you build trust with the customer. You know their property. They trust you there.
Right.
And then, it's just a very comfortable thing for them to be able to say, hey, can you do this too? And we're happy to.
Excellent. I know we first think about lawn care being mowing, first off, and you've mentioned a lot of other services that you provide.
Sure.
How did you grow into those other services? How did you learn to do all that stuff?
Well, I think that it mostly comes from just wanting, whenever you start a company, you don't have the book of business that you are going to have. So initially you really have to think, okay, well, if I want to pay the bills, then I need to think about what else can I do here? So I grew up, of course, in our area, we have Saudi Daisy. Mm-hmm. Well, it used to be Saudi and Daisy, right? So right. I grew up in not Saudi or Daisy, but a town kind of like one of those.
Okay.
Right? I was in, King George, Virginia, but it was more like a Daisy. So I did a lot of lawn care and worked on a golf course and golf course maintenance whenever I was in high school. And I guess it's just always kind of been in me.
Wow. Yeah, sure. So you've been doing this for most of your life.
Really
I
have.
mean, since
really
high
have.
school, at least. Yeah.
Yes. Yep.
You've done several other things. Can you give us just a quick look at your career background?
Sure.
Just to give us an idea that, hey, this is not the only thing you've done.
Yeah. Well, what brought me to Chattanooga was school. And my wife and I went to Tennessee Temple University when it was still open here in Chattanooga, and that's where we met. Then, while I was working on my master's degree, I worked in insurance. For another company that's no longer around, we did the employee benefits for Olin Mills. I don't think they're around anymore.
No.
So
a lot of places not around anymore.
Yeah, I'm outliving them. That's good. So then I always had kind of a love and an interest in real estate. So I got my real estate license and was a realtor for 8 years. That was from 2000 to like 2007, 2008. And that was a tough time, I think, for the nation. And I didn't have a book of business big enough to really make it through that banking implosion and the real estate drop.
Right.
So I kind of scattered around a little bit, figuring things out, but landed in banking, and I was in banking for 10 years. And I think that's where we first met.
That's right. We met when you were at First Volunteer.
Yes. And so that I learned a lot, transitioning from a branch manager at First Volunteer Bank that's also not really around anymore. It's now built well. And then into business banking. Gave me some connections to transition into. I had an offer to be an owner of an exterior remodeling company here in Chattanooga. Had lots of success there in growing that company, and had the opportunity to sell my ownership, and took advantage of that. And now I've got Chattanooga Lawn Enforcement.
How about that? I mean, you were a realtor, then you were a banker, and then we're working on exteriors of homes, and now you're still working on exteriors.
Yeah,
just
the yard instead of the house as much,
That's great.
And I do want to take a moment, Blake. I really am excited about what you're doing in this stage, in your season of life. I just really am, because you, to me, were an expert marketer. Okay. I mean, with advertising and you've been in that for such a long time.
Yeah, true.
You personally invest in properties, and we had the opportunity to work together when I was, doing the remodeling side of things. And now you're able to really take that experience that you have and help your client. And not that it's all about having success, but it's about helping your customer accomplish their goals, and you just are well suited for it. So I'm really excited about what you're doing right now.
Well, thank you, Paul. Thank you for that.
You're welcome.
The lawn care is just the beginning.
Yeah.
As you mentioned, I know looking on your website, there's a long list of things that you do.
Yeah.
And it's not all just lawn care. I see pressure washing. Mm-hmm. Tell me about that.
Whenever you're mowing and that season comes to a close, then it's like, okay, I've had all this overgrowth because it's been busy, been traveling for the summer, all the things that happen, and you need to cut those things back, whether it's pruning trees or shrubs or bushes. And a lot of times those overhang on your sidewalk a little bit. You don't even know. And because the sun doesn't get to that area, then you've just got moisture under there. So then now you've got some algae growth that's there. Same thing whenever your shrubs grow closer to the siding of your home, and you cut the back, you're like, oh, wow, that's kind of grimy, Mm-hmm. So we can do pressure washing on your hard surfaces like your sidewalks, maybe your cement porches, your driveways, soft washes, which is appropriate for your wood decks or your vinyl siding. In that, spring cleaning type of feel, like, hey, I've got things cut back. Now I'm ready to, the sun's coming out. I'm going to be outside more. It's so pretty out. Now it's time to kind of beautify a little bit. And having a really crisp line separating your lawn from your sidewalk or your driveway, it makes a great aesthetic look for your property. And you can do that by edging, which we do when you're in your mowing service. But if you have a concrete driveway and it's nice and bright, man, it just pops so nicely. And it doesn't cost a lot to pressure wash a driveway, a normal size driveway, but it makes all the difference in the world. So, same thing with your gutters. Your gutters are, over time, they maybe have some kind of some pour over from some heavy storms or whatever. Maybe you didn't get to cleaning them out enough. And so those leaves kind of, give a little bit of a stain to your gutter. Nice pressure wash on those really help to brighten things up.
Very good. It's great to hear you describe all of the things. I'm thinking in my mind, wow, yeah, I can see that. And I can see where there's a problem there and it needs some assistance.
Yeah.
Again, much more than just the guy with the lawnmower.
Right. Yeah. Now, one of my favorite Christmas gifts is a t-shirt. It says, "Do you even mow, bro?" But so mowing is our heart, and we love it. But yes, there's a lot, and if those things, those maintenance things, are not taken care of seasonally, then they can become to the point where there's too much staining. It's too embedded in the the concrete, for instance, where you can never really get it out without damaging the actual hardscape, and you don't want to do that. So it is important that you take care of those things on an annual basis. And I think that being a resource for our customer where they can know, hey, I can count on Chattanooga Lawn Enforcement to take care of my yard during the growing months, but then whenever I need to get these mulch beds refreshed, I want to replant a few things and want to clean the exterior of my home, whether it's a hard surface or a softer surface, they can count on us and trust us to take care of that.
If I called you and said, hey, come look at my place and tell me what you can do for my yard.
Yeah.
How does that look?
Well, just to use an example, yesterday a customer called that has purchased or has an investment property, and they hadn't been to the property in quite a while, and their tenant really kind of didn't take care of it inside or out. So then there's lots of saplings that have grown up in the backyard, and it's not just a weed, it's like a mini tree.
Wow. Okay.
And so they've got a lot of, of a project back there that needs to be cleaned up. A tree also that fell, it's a fallen tree, but it needs to be, chainsawed up and limbed and bucked and, set to the road front so the city can pick it up. Those are all things that we can do. So she reached out to me through our website. So Easy to go to chatlawn.com and request an estimate. And then we'll reach out right away if you request, however you request. But a lot of texting, to make it easy for the customer initially to find out, okay, when is a good time to meet. So the first time that I had spoken to this particular customer was when I walked up on the property, because she is a mom, she's a professional. She's also got this side hustle with an investment property. I mean, impressive, really great what she's doing. And it was nice that she was like, man, it was so nice just to be able to communicate quickly, heard from you, could schedule, and wasn't like, bogged down with all the other things that I had going on.
Right.
But when we walked up on the property, then that's the time to be able to really say, hey, what's your goal here? Because for her, caring for a real rental property might be a little bit different in her mind than how she'd want her personal home to be cared for. It's just a fact.
Sure.
Right? Now, she wants this to be, nicely taken care of. We do, for instance, the 4-step Scott's fertilizing treatment programs, but that doesn't make sense for the real rental property.
Okay.
Where for her, she just wants the grass to be cut, to be trimmed, look good. But as far as, making it lusher or greener, not
a priority.
Necessary,
okay.
Right?
Yeah.
So then we can talk through the different things. And of course, she was interested in the property cleanup, but then she found out that we could set up a program for her where every month she knew that even in the off seasons, we were going to be coming to the property, checking the property out, seeing what needed to be done, if anything, relay information to her about what she might want to consider based on, whatever type of weather we've had, whether it's been very windy and they've had some limbs fall down or anything like that. So for an investor or a property management group, that's something we can do. But it's all about getting face-to-face with the customers if we can, talking through, letting them know, hey, these are some of the recommendations that we would give you. These are the things we could offer. Would that be helpful? And then they can select which things they'd want to move forward with. Our estimating program allows for them to actually kind of toggle. Like, okay, I like the gutter cleaning, but not right now. And I like the pressure washing, but I'll come back later. But what I do need right now is the property cleanup, and I need the hedge trimming, and I want to start there. And so the estimate has all of those listed. They just click on the ones that they want and sign, and then we get to work for them.
Wow. So they receive an estimate that's kind of interactive on their computer or on their phone?
On their phone, via text or email, however they like to receive it.
Wow, that's really cool. And
Yeah.
you just pick your service.
Pick the service. And then, a lot of folks also, I hear a lot that there's so many different ways to make life easier. And while we are happy with checks and cash, the fact is it's really nice to have a payment securely stored in a customer portal, or when it's time to pay, they just say, yep, and click the button, and it has their payment information on file that they loaded themselves. They can change it if they wanted to. Some people like for it just to hit their account, So on the 31st of every month, they've got it budgeted in. They don't have to worry about it, making the payment themselves or writing a check and mailing it. Those are all those convenience things that we want to provide for our customers so they can really kind of take the ancillary thought out of it. Let us take care of those things, and they can enjoy focusing on the other things that they really want to for their family or for their personal life.
Now, it's springtime.
Yeah.
What should we be thinking about if we walk out into our lawn? What do we need to look at?
Well, I think that a lot of times there's a lot of great options for really turning your lawn into like a, golf course feel if you wanted to. But it takes a lot of time and a lot of money. And a lot of people, some people want to do that. What I'm getting at is if we do some fertilizing treatment to really, help to grow that grass into a more lush yard and really develop that turf. Most people are really just like, hey, I'd like for it to stay green. I'd like for it to look healthy and then be nice and trim and clean. Because if you go much further than that, then you really are talking about a decent amount of watering to make the money that you invested in that yard actually come to fruition and turn into what you want it to be.
Yeah.
And where there are some people who have irrigation systems and can have them, have no problem with having those set for the proper, amount of watering, and of course are comfortable with the additional cost of, paying for the watering. of course, we love working with those customers, but truth is probably 90% are just like, hey, can we make it look nice and like it actually has grass there, right? And, and it doesn't, and
less
it's not,
work for them, and
it's
all
not
that.
knee high, and I'm not dealing with my allergies, my issues, because I can't get out there and do that. I'm not comfortable because of my allergies. That's something we deal with a lot. Right now, it would be really kind of thinking through, what do I want for my property this upcoming season? You know, do I have some projects that are in mind, you know, to make my property a little more, give it a little more curb appeal? Springtime is a great time to start thinking about maybe adding a new bed, maybe doing some planting. Also, early spring is a time for some lawn food, you know, to help keep away crabgrass, which is always you know, a little bit of a annoyance, and then really start to feed your grass so that it can produce well, you know, moving into the warmer months. So I think that also thinking about, hey, are you to the point where you like to really talk about a plan for your yard and knowing that, okay, yeah, I don't want to cut the grass, but I do like to get out there and do the planting. Or maybe you like for us to take care of that too. You know, that's some of our customers, they just don't want to mow. Actually, some of them love to mow. I get it. I love to mow. That's why I do it, right? So, I mean, if you got a great zero turn, I'm just telling you, it's so much fun.
Yeah, I do my best thinking on a mower.
Something about it, right? And some, you know, if you've got the right tools, what I found in life is a lot of things can actually become quite enjoyable. But the right tools, oftentimes they're a little more expensive, and they might take a little more space to store, and, you know, things like that. So if you don't have the room for a 48-inch zero-turn commercial lawnmower, then you have a push mower, and now you're push mowing your whole yard, and it's dreadful, right? Especially in the hottest months of the year. So that's where we can help. One other thing is sometimes, even if it's just mowing, we're happy to spread that out over 12 months. Let's say your normal pay per service, and that, you know, comes together to be a number. And I hesitate to say the number because it could be different based on the yard. But whatever that number is for typically 8 months of growing season.
Right. That's when it's going to be higher for sure.
That's right. That's when it needs to be mowed. But instead of you paying per service, we can take that number, divide it by 12, and then just have that come out. And it's a much more budget-friendly approach. Some people really like that. That's another thing that helps to make things a little bit easier. And when you're thinking about, can I really afford it? Yeah, you can, you know, because spread out over that 12-month period, it's not that much at all.
Are there other things that you bring to your customers that they're surprised that you offer? Anytime
that, you know, you've got someone that says, okay, you cut grass, great, and then they know that you do gutter clean outs, you know, that type of thing, or Christmas light installations.
Oh, wow.
Okay, which is, I didn't think that I would enjoy that as much as I did this past season.
Really?
Yeah, just because most people enjoy having a festive home.
That's true. And you're lighting it up for them.
And we are. And so whenever, you know, you're done and the family says, kids, come out and take a look, and we turn the lights on, it's like, they're like, it's just fun.
Yeah.
You know? And,
that's cool.
I didn't really think about that part being something that would be as enjoyable as it is, but I really have liked that. Really, you know, if someone were to say, hey, can you take that tree house down out of that tree for me? We try to figure it out, right? I mean, if we have the equipment, if we could do it, we will. If we can't, if we know we're not going to be able to do it professionally and safely, then we won't. But if we can, we'll do our best. I think the thing that really catches people off guard is the level of communication that we really try to provide to our customer. So our software will let you know when our crew is en route to your property. You may be at work. It might be a rental property, and, you know, you're not even ever there, but it'd be good to know that the crew's on the property.
Yeah.
You know? Yeah. In case you're Ring camera goes off and you're like, oh no, what's going on? Oh, I know. Yeah, they told me they were going to be there, right? And
that's great. That's a great service.
So, 15 minutes, 30 minutes in advance, whenever the crew is en route, you're going to get a message that says you can expect us here with this ETA. And then for our regular residents, they're living in their home. They can come and see the work on a regular basis. But for our landlords or our property management groups, we like to take pictures so that they can see that the work's done, and not just so that they can see the work's done, because eventually, after a couple of pictures, they know we're going to do the work. They know that we're going to do it well, right? It's not like,
Sure.
Did they do it again? They know. They feel confident in that. But who else is on your property every 2 weeks whenever you own a rental property without causing some questions to your tenants? But it's your property,
Right, and you're there.
And I'm there every 2 weeks. Our crew's there, and we can just say, hey, this is what's happening. So, for instance, one of my investors, I took the pictures. She said, Paul, thank you. She knows not to park in the grass. And they're having a really hard time growing the grass. Why? Because they're parking there when they have a driveway, and they need to be parking in the driveway. So that was just something. She's like, I love the fact that I could find out, instead of like, at the end of the season, whenever I finally make it by or whatever, and the grass is completely dead, and the money that I put in to try to grow the grass is down the toilet, basically.
Yeah, right.
So those pictures for our investors, I think have become something that's an additional thing that's not hard for us to do, just a little bit of an extra step, but I think it makes a big difference to them. Also, just whether you're a property management group or an investor or a homeowner, we want to take a high level of care, with your property. We might take a little bit longer than maybe an average crew, which if you've seen these guys, and hey, you get good at something, you can do it faster. Right?
True.
So, but these crews that, they can go fast and they're in and out, and that's fine as long as we don't breeze by, and rush past things that maybe we should have done. We want to make sure we've taken care of that. So you don't have to be the one to say, remember we said you were going to do this, or why isn't this not done? Not just that, but to say, hey, we were at your property and we noticed a little bit of a situation with your roof.
Oh yeah, sure. Sure.
We're out there. We want to be cognizant of the property. So we kind of want to be like, okay, this is our only property. This is I can't survive on one property.
Right, but that's the attitude you try and take.
Yes. This is it. This is all I've got to take care of forever. And if I was going to get a referral from somebody, it's going to be based on this property because it's all I have. And so hopefully we can provide. And then also with some of the experiences that I've had in my previous career, to me, this is my personal thing. I think maybe we see eye to eye on this, but to me, God kind of takes you through this meandering path in your life, and while you're there, like, oh, this is cool, or you might be like, well, what am I doing this for? And then years down the road, you're like, oh, wow, that's
so many times.
Man, you're smart, right? And now to be able to have the real estate background,
right?
As far as like understanding the market a little bit. I'm not in the depths as I was before. Maybe a little bit more now because I get your marketer report, right? Which is really cool. But also with banking, and when I was at the end of my career as a business banker, dealt with a lot of investment portfolios and kind of understanding the intricacies of being an investor. And then with the exterior remodeling, I think it's been a really cool thing. And then you could go all the way back to my education and really kind of a ministry focus and really wanting to create that type of relationship, that trusted relationship with my customer. And maybe I'm overreaching, but I love whenever we're on the property, something that we just felt led to do is to pray for our customer while we're there. So when we're there, that's our time. Maybe not the entire time, but when we're, making our round or striping that lawn, it's like, okay, bless this family, Lord, and some of them know that I do that. And so they say, hey, when you're there today, would you mind to, pray about this? My daughter's got surgery, or
how about that?
My dog's kind of not doing well.
That?
It's been really, really cool. And go figure, mowing grass. You know?
Go figure.
Yeah.
Well, I was so impressed just thinking when you were describing all of the benefits that you bring and your services that you bring, how your professional background, your just your experience over the years has, as you just said, been brought together, that God's led you here to this, and you are now bringing this high level of service to your clients, to your customers. And like you said, who figured? It's mowing the grass, right? That's where it starts.
Yeah. And whether we, from a business perspective, you know, whether we have lots of rain or not a lot of rain, the grass still tends to grow. So it grows a little bit differently, you know, depends on the weather, but it does tend to grow. And I think that our goal, you know, we get to be on the property because it's growing multiple times throughout the year, weekly or bi-weekly, you know, during the growing season. And sometimes families are at home, sometimes they're not. But if they are, we really enjoy building that relationship with the customer, not just to be the crew that, you know, zips in and zips out. Of course, if that's what you need, that's what we do, you know, but we really enjoy that other side. I do want to say also, we've really enjoyed starting to work into some small, like light commercial, you know, clients, which like some hotels in the downtown area that don't have huge, you know, properties, but have needs for very specific types of service, mixture of mowing and mulching and weeding and pruning, have enjoyed working with churches. While we're not at the point yet, maybe we'll never be, I don't know, where we're going to be taking on acres of property for a customer with a commercial complex or something like that.
Right.
What I would say, you know, lighter commercial is right down our alley, and we've had a lot of success there.
Tell me how a listener can get in touch with you.
We would love for you to check out chatlawn.com. You're going to see a little bit about what we're all about, some video, some lists of different services.
It's a great website, by the way. I find it to be very informative.
Thank you. That's great. I'm glad to hear that. You know, that's the goal. And so, and then also that's probably the very easiest way to, you know, quickly get information. If you're interested in a quote for any service, it just asks for your information with your property address. So it really quickly from the outset allows us to make sure we have the correct property, correct contact information to be able to effectively communicate with you and get that information to you. Of course, you can reach us on our company line, which is 423-708-4816. That's 423-708-4816. If you don't like to go to the website, which is chatlawn.com, like the first 5 letters of Chattanooga, lawn.com, chatlawn, 2 T's.
Yeah, chatlawn.com.
You can. We love for people to check us out on Facebook and LinkedIn. Those are where we, you know, do most of our interaction on the social media level.
Excellent. Well, Paul, it's been great having you on.
Thank you so much, Blake.
Chattanooga Lawn Enforcement.
Yes, sir.
I'm Blake Watson, agent with eXp Realty, LLC. My mobile phone is 423-315-1815, and my brokerage office phone is 888-519-5113, extension 1241. You can find me on Facebook and LinkedIn as Blake Watson, and on Instagram as Rock and Roll Blake. My website is realestatebyblake.com. And please subscribe to this podcast so you won't miss an episode. And I look forward to talking with you next week on Let's Talk Chattanooga Real Estate.